This is a football story for the ages. A story of courage, perseverance, and yes, luck. A story about a group of ragtag buddies who dared to challenge the most powerful family of athletes in the history of Askov, Minnesota. A story about Cox and Caldas and Yates, and Bethke and Engebretson, and yes, the Degerstroms. It was the greatest game never told, until now.
You know, I played in that league for a lot of years, and that was without a doubt the greatest game I ever played.
Everybody has maybe one or possibly two things they look back on in their life, and they're grateful they were a part of it. This would have to be one of those things for me.
You know, here was a group of guys, you know, kind of a ragtag bunch going up against what is arguably the greatest family of athletes in northern Minnesota history.
I've known the Degerstroms probably longer than Ingy, longer than anyone. When I was a kid, we played at Van Cleve together, and to beat them on that day, oh God, it was beautiful.
Aren't you the guy that beat the Degerstroms? That's what I hear more often than not. Aren't you the guy who finally beat the Degerstroms? I say, you got it, buddy.
The Degerstroms. They were farmers, hunters, fishermen, computer programmers, computer builders, sailors, and of course, athletes. Most were runners. Adrian finished third in the Minnesota High School State cross-country meet in 1973. Jim and Don became marathon runners, but basketball was their passion.
I met Jim in 1975. We had astronomy class together, and we had lab together, and I guess it was kind of interesting. I look back now and I kind of chuckle. Between us sat this guy who knew Ron Koulis, who, as we all know, was a great receiver in Minnesota Gopher history. And me being the great receiver that I am, I just kind of found it odd that that's how I met Jim.
So the Degerstroms to me were this mythical, legendary group of people.
These guys could run like the wind.
Well, you think Jim's a good basketball player. Wait till you see Don, he'll rip your arms off. The guy's a brute.
They have an air of invincibility about them. These guys just won't give up. I think it's their northern Minnesota roots.
Nearly every single Northeast Invitational Tournament championship team included a Degerstrom. They dominated the NBA, the Neighborhood Basketball Association, for 20 years. But football wasn't their game.
My recollection of the challenge is we were at a year-end party for the basketball league at Caldas's house, the Lilac Invitational.
Finally, we got so mad that we just challenged them. We said, okay, let's bring it on the field.
And I think somebody threw down the gauntlet.
Somebody finally figured out that if you took them off the basketball court, you know, put them on a softball field maybe, or a football field, maybe the field would kind of level a bit.
We talked about bowling, talked about softball. I was kind of for Monopoly.
We didn't know if we could win.
Team Metro were decent athletes. Caldas learned the ropes at Highland Park Elementary School. Bethke was the sixth man on St. Austin's elementary school basketball team. Yates was a four-sport star at Marshall U High School. Cox was a high-scoring guard in the Air Force Intramural League. And Engebretson led his 10th grade gym class in touchdowns. Each of the Metro stars managed to win an NIT tournament, but only when teamed with a Degerstrom. Despite their somewhat impressive athletic skills and the Degerstrom's lack of football experience, oddsmakers made Team Metro a 2-touchdown underdog. And that was before Engebretson got hurt, less than a week before the big game, during a basketball game with the Degerstroms.
Mike was going on a fast break. Jim throws this all-court pass to Mike just over my fingertip.
I wasn't there the night that Mark was originally injured. I missed basketball that night. I knew we had the big challenge match coming up.
And I went for it, though, and didn't catch it.
I was kind of upset that all the guys were playing basketball.
And I turned my ankle. Oh, that hurt. And as I was falling, I stuck my hand out to break the fall, and I jammed that wrist. I found out later it was broken.
I got a call that night late. I was really upset. I didn't know which Degerstrom had done it.
This was it. We were going to face him. We're going to beat him. We were all ready. We had our plan. It was all in place, and then Ingy gets injured.
I had guaranteed a win for us, and here I was, a severely sprained ankle and a broken wrist, 5 days away from the game.
On game day, a decision was made to start the grizzled veteran Cox at quarterback in place of the injured Engebretson. During the first half, Team Degerstrom and Team Metro battled up and down the field. With seconds remaining and the score tied 14-14, Cox found his favorite receiver, Big Mike, who beat Mike Degerstrom for a touchdown. The play was not absent controversy.
You know, early on, I think in our first two series, a couple of times on third down, I had seen that Mike could beat that linebacker, Mike Degerstrom.
There was no trap there. If you look carefully, you'll see I had a hand under the ball.
I just threw the ball. He did a great job catching it. He might have trapped it.
The first half ended with Team Metro ahead 21-14, but the question remained, would Engebretson play quarterback in the second half? Cox, the grizzled veteran, exhibited flashes of his previous brilliance, but also the rust of old age.
It'd been a game of frustration because nobody had told me that Ingy wasn't going to start the game.
When we had that halftime break, I mean, Steve just flat out stated it. Craig cannot start the second half. Ingy's got to be the quarterback.
Craig doesn't have the arm. Craig doesn't have the height to see me. All he can do is throw at the biggest thing on the field, and that's Big Mike.
A short second half kickoff by Team Metro gave the Degerstroms great field position. They quickly capitalized, tying the score at 21-21. Then Team Metro made a shocking decision. Engebretson would take over at quarterback. Engebretson led the team down the field, hooking up with Caldas on several short button hooks. Then he tried to light it up by throwing long to Big Mike, but he overthrew him. Caldas had some words with Engebretson after the play.
Ingy thrown me a couple balls right away. We were moving down the field, and then he threw that one over the head to Big Mike. And on that play, I'd just blown by Greg, and I was wide open. I was there, and I came back to the huddle, and I told Ingy that I could beat Greg, that get me the ball and we got a touchdown.
You know, Greg's guarding him. I'm thinking, you know, we can do the short stuff, Steve. You know, the down and out. We can do that kind of stuff. But he's the fastest guy out there.
It takes more than speed. I said, I got the speed and I got the moves. And Greg doesn't have the moves. And he can't keep up with my moves.
So I said, okay, let's give it a shot.
On second down and 10 at their own 27, Caldas lined up wide right. As Engebretson took the snap, the wily veteran Caldas took off. Greg Degerstrom must have blinked because he lost him. 73 yards later, Team Metro was back in front, 28-21.
Man, Yates, you know, he played football at Normandale. He was the quickest player on our team.
I remember the play. I was lined up in the slot. Jerry was to my right, and I I knew I had the speed to beat him. So Jerry's a good, he's big, he's got some good long reach, he's a good defender, but if I make my move, he's not going to catch me. I went out, I juked right, moved to the left, did a little hook. Mark hit me with the ball, I just turned on the burners and that was it. No one was going to catch me.
Yates, perhaps the fleetest player on the field, scampered 64 yards to give the Team Metro a 35-28 lead. With 5 minutes remaining and Team Metro ahead 42-35, tragedy strikes.
Well, I remember that play. Greg Degerstrom came on a Red Dog blitz.
With Greg Degerstrom in hot pursuit, Engebretson lost his balance, falling hard and jamming his already broken wrist. Everyone knew Engebretson was finished for the day. With the ball turned over on downs, Team Degerstrom strikes quickly, tying the score at 42-42. Team Metro calls on the grizzled veteran Cox to lead the team in the final 2 minutes. The veteran field general leads the team down the field, connecting on several short passes to Bethke and Yates. But time is running short. With Engebretson and others nursing injuries, it's clear that for Team Metro to win, Cox needs a miracle. With time for one last play, a banged-up Engebretson re-enters the game at wide receiver. 5 middle-aged white men shout, "Don't give up," as they line up for the biggest play of their collective lives. It's Hail Mary time.
Everybody lined up. There's nobody held back to block the rusher. Everybody's just going to go for the end zone.
A lot of people who think they know what they're talking about think that I was actually throwing the ball to Engebretson.
I remember Jim telling Greg, whatever you do, don't let this guy get behind you.
I knew this guy was crippled up.
And I ran as fast as I could, just dragging that right leg behind me.
And when I first looked down that left sideline, I could see that Greg was all over him.
I was in the end zone waving my hands.
And he lofts it up to Big Mike, and sure enough, Big Mike drops it.
I guess I was the right guy at the right time.
And then I realized Craig threw it short.
The ball, I just remember looking up and trying to grab it.
I thought he was going to catch it. I was disappointed when he batted it.
And the ball was just tumbling towards me.
For a brief moment, time stood still.
So I stuck my hands out and I grabbed it.
And the ball lands in his hands, and he turned, and on his game leg and with his broken wrist, he limped over the goal line. And, that's what did it. That's what put us over. The clock ran out, and we ended up with the trophy that day.
Touchdown! We won! We beat the Degerstroms!
After enduring 20 years of embarrassment at the hands of the Degerstroms, Team Metro finally had a victory. And it was a magical and shocking one at that. It was a victory that no one will ever take away from them. It was a victory in what once was called the greatest game never told. And we're sure that their wives hope it's never told again.